All right, guys, huge week this weekend as we play the dreaded Gunners. We play against Arsenal on Sunday morning. I'm filming this video a little ahead of time because I have a crazy snow camp coming up with the youth group I work with, which is going to be taking most of my weekend, but I wanted to make sure to still get a video out because this is a huge weekend. And let alone, it's not just a huge weekend because we're playing Chelsea versus Arsenal, London derby, you know, all the history there, and what a huge implication it has for us right in the top four race, and for them with the win for the title against City, who are right on their heels. But also because these next couple of weeks for Chelsea are absolutely definitive for the rest of our season. I know it's easy to say that really for any stretch of time. I'm aware of that. But I'm going to show us what are the games we have coming up in the next couple of days. Because they're crazy. They are genuinely a crazy stretch of matches. Obviously, we have Arsenal versus Chelsea first, but I didn't realize how tough our stretch is even after that. So I'm going to read for us what are the games we have coming up after this match. And I'm not even worrying about the cups. Just in the Premier League, what are the next 5 or 6 matches we're playing? So Sunday we have Arsenal obviously against Chelsea, and then on Wednesday we have Villa. That game is arguably more important because we're actually still trying to compete with them, right? And then after that we have an FA Cup match, but then after that we have Newcastle, who I'm aware have been extraordinarily inconsistent this year, but we've seen what they've done in the Champions League as of late. They're very dangerous, so not an easy game. And then after that, Everton, which you would argue is one of the easier matches of this schedule, yet still they're having a much better year than they have been. And then Man City, and then Man United. In the past, Man United would have been a game where we're like, okay, that's a weak team. But even when they were a weak team, we couldn't beat them, if we're being honest. You guys know I'm almost always positive. I try to be positive. But if we're being realistic, this is a very, very, very difficult stretch of games. We have, let me say it one more time quickly, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Man City, Man United. And that is just in the next 6 matches. In the next 6 matches, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that are above us in the table. So arguably, right, not coming from a creator with blue tinted glasses, those are 4 of the 6 games would be games we're probably not favored to win. So what are we going to do? How are we going to perform? That's the question, guys. And we're going to get into that a little bit in regards to this Arsenal game. How can we line up in order to best combat what a good team they are? And moving forward, right, that same strategy should probably apply to the other games against the likes of your Villas and your Cities and your Uniteds and all these different things. So that's what we have coming up. So in other words, I need you guys, like I am myself, prepare yourself. Hopefully we will surprise ourselves. I think there's a good chance of that, right? We always tend to perform when we're under pressure. It's just the problem is we don't perform when we're not under pressure. So let's get into this. What we're going to do first, guys, we're going to look at a little bit of an injury update because we do have several high-profile injuries that I wanted to update you guys on with the likes of Stevao and likes of Cucurella to kind of give an insight for what can we expect against Arsenal, and also our captain, Reece James. Is he fit? Is he still fit, right? What can we expect? Is he going to start? That type of thing. So let's go ahead and hop into that. We're looking at, I think it's the London Evening Standard, to get some of that news as we get ready for this match on Sunday. So let's go ahead and hop over and look at some injury updates. Okay, so Stevao, unfortunately, it says this is, again, on the Standard. Chelsea's teenage Brazilian sensation started against both Leeds and Hull, scoring against the latter, but missed the draw with Burnley after suffering a hamstring complaint in training on the eve of the game. So basically, right before the game against Burnley, he felt something, and he went and was being sent for scans and whatnot, and we're not sure if he'll be coming back. Liam, before the Burnley match, so this is kind of dated, even though this article is from today, this quote is not. This quote says, at the moment we're scanning to make sure it's nothing serious, but he's unavailable for today's game. We'll see from there. That's speaking about Burnley. So there's still a hope, I would say an outside hope, for Stevao playing in this match. I almost think it's certain he's not going to start in this match, which I'm sure many of you would like to see. So that's a little bit of not good news, but let's move on to some good news. So Reece James, there's nothing new here, right? There's not some secret injury that I'm trying to inform you guys of or anything. If you remember, he was out for a couple matches. It was maybe because of a little bit of a knock, but then he also got ill. And then he came off at the end of the game against Burnley. And then Rosenior says, asked if that substitution was enforced by injury. Rosenior said, Reece, it was just honestly, he's so important to us as the captain, as the world-class player that he is. Any sign of fatigue with him, I want to get him off the pitch. I need him for Arsenal. He should absolutely be fine. So that line there at the end is the most important, obviously. He should absolutely be fine. So as far as we know, Reece should be good, ready to go against Arsenal, which that's extremely important. We need him in there, not just for the leadership perspective of things, but also just his immense quality, his set pieces, his defense, his 1v1 defending against amazing wingers, and the likes of that will probably be Trossard or Eze, maybe even he'll have to go against. We need him back, and that's good news. And the next, Lavia, long story short, I don't want to make a big deal out of this because he's barely played at all for us. Love him, but he's barely played at all, so I don't really want to make a mountain out of a molehill. He is expected to make the bench, so that's good. More midfield cover, especially since Asugo has not been a factor either, so he should be a factor on the bench for us. He was on the bench unused against Burnley. He's played a little bit for, I think it's the under-21s as well, to kind of get his feet under him. So good news there as well. And then Mark, this is not as good news. It was expected he'd approximately, you see this right here, miss 3 to 4 weeks of action, which would put him on track, it says, to return to the pitch in mid-March, potentially around the time of Newcastle's visit, or the earlier trip to Wrexham in the FA Cup. So he's not going to be available for Arsenal. That is a blow, right? If we have the likes of Saka or even Madueke on the right. Is Saka injured right now? I don't recall. Leave that in the comments if he is. I for some reason, I feel like he is. I know we just signed a new contract. Either way, right? We know Madueke has some danger as well to him. He will not be playing. And that's the last one I want to look at because Jamie Gittins, Jorgensen, and Colwill are all far off still. Asugo could possibly make the bench, supposedly, but I don't think he'll play. So, nonetheless, that's our update with the squad. Some good news with Reece James being back, Lavia making the bench, and some not-so-great news with Steval probably being doubtful and Kukurea almost certainly being out. So, that's the update. Now let's hop over, build a squad for what kind of team could beat Arsenal on Sunday. Okay, so here we are on Squad Builder. As always, I have a lineup built here. I'm interested what you guys would say you agree with, what you maybe don't agree with. So we have Rob Sanchez in net, and then Reece James. We'll start with fullbacks. Reece James on the right, Malo Gusto on the left. Because with Mark being out, it's either basically Malo Gusto or it is Yorel Hato. I like Hato. I would absolutely not start him in a game against Arsenal, at least from the jump. I know I also don't necessarily love Gusto at left back, but I definitely prefer him there right now, starting in a match this magnitude over Hato. So that's for the fullbacks. In the center back department, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Trev on the left, and then Sarr on the right as his pair. I think he's looked tremendous in his cameo against Hull City, I believe it was. Amazing ball distribution, very confident in the back, extremely athletic. I'm excited to see who this player is. And the reason I have him starting this match is because Wesley Fofana, of course, accrued a second card against Burnley, which also, in my opinion, totally cost us the game, and he's not able to play this match. So it's either Sarr, Benoit, or Tosin, or Josh. Definitely not Tosin for me. I would say definitely not Benoit for me. So it's either Mamadou or Josh, and I'd rather start Mamadou in this game than Josh. So that's my back line. I'm curious what you guys think. It's imposing. The center back pairing is imposing, which is good because they're a very big physical team in Arsenal, especially on set pieces. And Mamadou and Trev both have some size and athleticism to them to be able to maybe compete with the likes of Gyökeres and Gabriel and William Saliba and all these players that, obviously will try to impose themselves, and Declan Rice. So that's the back line. Midfield department stays the same. Andre Santos and Moises Caicedo. Love that pair, right? Extremely athletic, really amazing at ball recovery and also distribution. One thing I'm still waiting to see a little bit from Andre is maybe a little bit more contribution in the goal and assist department, because I do think he has that in his bag. You looked at his youth football with the Brazil national team when he was captaining them. He scored amazing amounts of goals there, and also his contribution in Ligue 1 with Strasbourg. He was amazing there in the double digits with goal and assist contributions there. So would love to see that from Andre a little bit more if possible, but you can't get too greedy. And then up in front, I got Cole Palmer and Pedro Neto on the right and Enzo on the left. I know it's weird seeing Enzo here. We're probably used to seeing, obviously, right, maybe Pedro being on the right and then Cole being, or on the left and then Cole being on the right and then Enzo in the middle. But what I saw is this is the exact squad I picked for the last match, and all the personnel was correct. But we actually had Enzo kind of holding that space in the left, which I have mixed emotions about, right? Because he doesn't lack many things, Enzo, but pace is one of the things he definitely lacks. So, nonetheless, you could absolutely see this. You could also see them swap with Pedro going on the left, Enzo in the middle, and Cole on the right. But I do think that's the attacking three you'll have in front of Andre and Moises. Then up top, undroppable right now is Joao Pedro. Even when he's not scoring right now, he's contributing with winning penalties, with assists, with all these different things. He's been tremendous. So that's a team that I think will be able to compete. They have a mix of creativity with the like of Enzo and Cole, and the link-up play between Cole and Joao has been amazing as of late. The athleticism in the midfield with Moises and Andre, and then, like I said, the physical dominance of people like Trev Chalobah and Mamadou Sarr to compete with the best center back pairing in the world, I would say, with Gabriel and Saliba in set pieces, because we have to think about set pieces when we think about Arsenal. So that's who I would go with. I know in the past, right, people have said, oh, start Tosin, right? That's been one of the main things on his resume of, oh, he can be an imposing force defending set pieces, yet he seems like one of the primary culprits for being to blame with the Arsenal, or with a Burnley blunder with Fleming scoring that last minute header, which was just so frustrating. Nonetheless, guys, that's a team I have. I do think this team's capable of getting some positive results. And speaking of positive results, let's finish up this video by talking about what is my score prediction for this massive game on Sunday. Okay, guys, so here's the thing. I always try to be positive and optimist, and you're probably going to accuse me of being that again today, but I'm not going to try to be too unrealistic. I'm actually not going to predict a win in this weekend's game. I'm going to predict a draw, and it's not going to be a 0-0 draw. It's not going to be a 1-1 draw. I think we're going to get a 2-2 draw, and I think we're going to be trailing for large portions of the game. I think it'll have to be, it sounds funny with it being Arsenal, right? But I think it'll have to be more of a shootout, because we are gifted going forward. However, they are also gifted going forward, and I think we can be porous at the back. So I think we will be able to get a draw with this team potentially, but I think it'll be a 2-2 draw. That's my prediction for this game. And as for scores, I'm going to go for a Joao Pedro poacher's goal, right? He's getting in these dangerous areas. He has good link-up play, and I think ultimately he's going to get himself back on the score sheet. And then next, I'm going to go for an Enzo goal. He's just been smelling it lately, right? He's been arriving in dangerous areas on the edge of the box and sometimes skying it over the bar. Still having an amazing season nonetheless. I think he's going to get on the score sheet. He tends to show up in the big moments. So I'm going again, 2-2 draw, Joao Pedro goal, Enzo Fernandez goal. What do you guys think? Do you think we have any chance of winning this game? What would your score predictions be? Leave those down below, and I'd love to interact with you guys. So without anything else to say, I'll see you guys next time, and enjoy the giant match on Sunday.